On April 11, 2007, the serene town of Pleasant Grove, Utah, bore witness to a shocking crime that would shatter the illusion of tranquility. Michele MacNeill, a woman whose life had been a tapestry of achievements and aspirations, was found lifeless in her own home. Beneath the veneer of a picturesque family, a dark tale of deception, betrayal, and murder unfolded. As the details of Michelle's demise emerged, so too did a labyrinth of lies, leading to a courtroom drama that would expose the sinister machinations of a husband who had carefully orchestrated his wife's untimely end. 50-year-old Michele MacNeill was recovering from surgery at home. Her daughter, Alexis Summers, initially took care of her, and later Michelle's husband, Dr. Martin MacNeill, took over. Little did they know, this ordinary recovery would turn into a dark and tragic story. Michele and Martin tied the knot when she was just 21, and they met at an event for young Mormon singles. Their marriage lasted for almost 30 years. Martin was a doctor, and Michele was a former beauty queen who now works as a model. They both wanted children, and within 5 years of getting married, they had 4 biological children. Besides that, they adopted 4 kids, 3 of whom were from Ukraine. Martin took his 2 young girls to school on April 11th. He left his 4 adult children and 4 young children living with him. The day before, at 8:45 a.m., Alexis called Michele after she had left for medical school to check on how she was doing. Michele told Alexis that everything was okay. On April 3rd, Michele had a facelift and was taking medicine. Alexis took care of her for a few days before she went back to school. Michele told her she felt good and was going to pick up the girls from school later that same day. Martin dropped the girls off at school and then went to work, where he got an award in the morning and asked a photographer to take a picture of him after the ceremony. At 11:30 a.m., he picked up his daughter and took her home. Michele did not answer the phone when Martin and his daughter got home, so they looked for her in the house. They found Michele fully dressed and submerged in the bathtub. Martin told his daughter to go get help, so she ran quickly to a neighbor's house. When Alexis called Martin, he told her the sad news: "Your mother is in the tub and she is not breathing." Concerned neighbors rushed into the bathroom to help and saw Martin bending over Michele's face. Michele was in the shower with her legs and feet up and her head under the faucet. She was lying face up. Nancy's neighbors helped lift Michele out of the tub and Martin started CPR. When the rescuers got there, they took over the efforts to save the life. There was a bubbling sound during this process, and Michele threw up a lot of fluid from her mouth more than once. Martin told the rescuers that he had not been away from the house for long. He thought Michele might have taken too much painkillers and fallen in the tub, hitting her head. Martin says that Michele was lying on her back over the bathroom with her legs outside of it when he found her. The doctor said Michele was dead as soon as she got there. As a result of heart disease with hypertension and myocarditis, Dr. Morin Fra, the medical examiner, found that Michele's death was normal. A woman named Gypsy Jillian Willis moved into Martin's house 9 days after Michele's funeral. At first, Martin told his kids that he had hired her as a nanny to watch the other 4 little kids at home. But Martin's grown children were upset about what was going on. Martin told Alexis to leave the house when she asked him about his friendship with Gypsy. Later, it became clear that Gypsy was not working as a maid. She was living with Martin as his partner. They went to Wyoming together, where Gypsy told Martin's family that she was going to marry him, and even changed her name to Jillian MacNeill. It is crazy that Martin asked Gypsy to marry him only 3 months after his wife died. Alexis, her sister Rachel, and Michele's sister Linda Clough all had doubts about the supposed natural cause of Michele's death. Because they thought Michele had been killed, they asked the cops to look into the case again. Following a review of the toxicology report from the autopsy, a toxicologist found that Michele's blood had levels of Valium, peripherin, and Ambien that were high enough to make her seriously impaired and hard to wake up. After that, Dr. Todd Gray looked over the report and changed the cause of death from natural to unknown. The new cause of Michele's death was heart disease and drug poisoning working together. Over the course of the study into Martin's past, a life based on lies became clear. Martin did bad things when he was in his 20s, like writing fake checks to pay for his expensive lifestyle. His criminal record included forgery and grand theft charges that got him 180 days in prison. After he got out of prison, Martin went to medical school and got in by using two fake transcripts, someone else's transcript, during the application process. Additionally, police found that Martin had lied about having schizophrenia in order to get out of the service. After he got out of the military, he got $3,000 a month from Veterans Affairs for more than 30 years. The cops looked into the case more deeply. After Michele died, Martin tried to make plans for the adoption of the 3 children they had taken in from Ukraine. To make this possible, he set up a fake plan involving Michele MacNeill, one of his children who was 16 years old. As an excuse for a summer break, he sent Giselle back to Ukraine. While she was not there, Martin and Gypsy pretended to be her. Gypsy got a fake social security number, Idaho ID cards, and a birth certificate. She and her friend went to court and were able to change Giselle's birth date by 20 years. There were federal charges against Martin and Gypsy for identity theft and other crimes. Both of them admitted they were guilty of state theft. After Martin got out of jail after 3 years, he was charged with murder, which is a first-degree felony, and obstruction of justice, which is a second-degree felony. The state said that Martin planned to kill his wife and then did it. They said that he tricked Michele into getting a facelift as part of a carefully planned murder. According to the prosecutors, Martin persuaded the surgeon who did the facelift to give Martin certain drugs that he needed to commit the crime. In their case, they said that Martin gave Michele these drugs after her plastic surgery and then drowned her in the bathroom at their house. Martin wanted to be with his lover Gypsy, which is what the prosecution said was the reason. The court found out that Martin had actively pushed Michele to get a facelift, even though she had not shown any interest in the process before. Testimony showed that Martin's behavior changed when he turned 50. For example, he became more dedicated to working out, losing weight, and going to tanning shops. Michele was worried about a possible affair, so she asked him why he was suddenly so interested in how he looked. Martin replied that she should also care about how she looks and think about getting a facelift. Michele told her daughter Alexis in March 2007 that she was worried that Martin might be having an affair. Michele thought Martin was cheating on her, so she looked at his phone records and found a number he called a lot. When she talked to him about her worries, Martin told her they were not important. To get her mind off of him, he offered to pay for Michele's facelift and suggested that they go on a cruise together afterwards. In contrast to what Martin said, the prosecution said he had been having an affair with Gypsy since November 20th, 2005. He later said he met Willis only after Michele's funeral, when he hired her to care for his children. They met for the first time online, and Gypsy stated that she knew Martin was married. The state says Martin started planning to kill Michele months before she died so that he could be with Gypsy. They said that he faked being sick to get an alibi, which made it seem unlikely that he would have attacked his wife physically. Martin told different people about his health problems in different ways, walking with a limp and using a cane at church. He told the people in the church that he had cancer and would not live much longer. At the same time, he told his coworkers different health stories, such as having peripheral neuropathy in his toe, cancer in his big toe, and a brain problem that was like multiple sclerosis. The prosecution then went into detail about Michele's surgery and what happened afterwards, stressing that Martin's actions after she died were what really raised red flags in the case. Martin set up meetings for Michele with a plastic surgeon in March 2007 and was present at all of the consultations and visits. Even though Michele was scared, she decided to have the surgery. Martin went with Michele to see her primary care doctor before the surgery to make sure it was safe to go ahead. Michele said on the way to her meeting that she wanted to put off the surgery so that she could better control her blood pressure. Martin expressed his displeasure with the idea, stating that not undergoing the surgery immediately would result in a denial of the procedure. Following a facelift, standard medication typically comprises an anti-inflammatory, an antibiotic, a pain reliever, and an eye ointment. However, Martin requested additional and more potent medications, including oxycodone, liquid lorazepam, and Valium from the surgeon. These requests were granted by the doctor, who cautioned Michele to take each pill individually and not consume them simultaneously. According to the plan, Michele only had to go through the process once, 2 days later. She wanted to stay at the hospital overnight, but Martin insisted she go home because he didn't like the idea. The surgeon stepped in and told Michele she had to stay the night. it was finally okay for her to go home the next day. Alexis noticed that Michele seemed too relaxed when she got home from work. Martin told her that he might have given too much medicine when she asked him about it. Alexis offered to take care of Michele's medicine because she was worried about her mother's health. It was Michele who told Alexis that Martin had given her too much medicine, which made her throw up. As Michele was still healing and could not see, she asked Alexis to let her feel each pill so she could tell which ones were which. This was to make sure she did not take too many medicines. Following the removal of her bandages, Michele's healing went well over the next few days. She got her freedom and mobility back. She even started taking less of the medicines her doctor told her to. Even though Michele's condition was improving, Martin requested the surgeon to refill her lorazepam prescriptions, and the surgeon complied with his request. Alexis went back to school because she thought Michele was getting better and would be able to handle things on her own. Michele was found dead the next day. The jury found out about the strange events that led to Michele's finding in the bathroom. Michele's youngest daughter said that Martin picked her up from school the day she died and that they got home and found Michele fully dressed in the bathtub. He told the operator on the second call, "My wife has fallen in the bathtub. She is unconscious. She is underwater." Martin told the woman that he could not lift Michele, so he was draining the tub and then hung up. After the dispatcher called back, Martin hung up once more. Someone, perhaps a neighbor, observed Michele in the water. One neighbor said that they applied chest compressions to Michele while Martin leaned over her head and gave her rescue breaths. He did touch Michele's mouth, but they did not see it happen. There was a gurgling sound and Michele's color changed after the doctors took over CPR. The jury was told that Martin's story about how Michele was found was different from what other people remembered. Martin said that she was hunched over the bathtub and that her lower body was not in the tub, which was very different from what his daughter and neighbors said. The doctor in the emergency room said Michele did not have any injuries from falling into the water. Alexis found Michele's medicine, along with other things like the hospital bed and blankets, missing in the shed when she got home after hearing about Michele's death. She found a stack of wet clothes, towels, and the bathroom rug. Damien, Martin's son, and Eileen, his girlfriend, moved back in with him after Michele died. Martin told Eileen to flush Michele's pills down the toilet. Some of the pill boxes were almost empty, which Eileen said she saw while following the rules. She did not see any blood in the bathroom, even though Martin said there was blood everywhere. The court heard that Martin talked to Gypsy a lot on the day Michele died. They talked on the phone twice and sent each other 30 text messages. During the trial, the prosecution brought in a doctor who said that Michele's heart inflammation was not dangerous and was not bad enough to put her at a high risk of dying from heart disease. In addition, a forensic pathology expert testified that there was no evidence of myocarditis that would change the original cause of death determination. Instead, the experts said that 5 main points made it seem like water might have been the cause of death. As Michele was doing CPR, she vomited up a lot of water, which showed that she had swallowed water. Second, there was water in Michele's lungs, which suggests she breathed in a lot of water. Third, Michele's lungs were twice as heavy as most people's. Fourth, doctors found fluid in Michele's lungs. Fifth, Michele's blood had a lot of dilution, which happens when you breathe in water and it goes into your blood vessels and travels all over your body. During the trial, the government used evidence from 5 jailhouse informants. Someone else in the jail said they had seen a TV show about Martin and told him about it. At first, Martin didn't want to talk details, but later the inmate said he admitted giving Michele some pills, probably oxycodone and sleeping pills. Then he supposedly told her that he put her in the bathroom and briefly submerged her head in water. When another inmate asked Martin about Michele, Martin allegedly said, "The drowned." The other inmates said that Martin bragged about being able to avoid being caught and was sure that the authorities would never be able to prove what he did. The defense said Michele's death was natural, citing the different medical experts who were involved in the case. There was no way for any of them to be sure that Michele's death was from murder. Michele had a heart attack, which is what the defense said made her fall headfirst into the water. It was more than 6 years after Michele's death on September 19th, 2014, that he was sentenced to at least 15 years in jail and up to life for first-degree murder. He was also given an additional sentence of 1 to 15 years for obstruction of justice. Gypsy was not charged with murder. Although some of Michelle's family suspected her involvement, Gypsy claimed she had no knowledge of any plan to harm Michelle. Martin tried to overturn his sentence, but he lost. MacNeill killed himself in jail on April 9, 2017, 2.5 years into his sentence. Someone found him dead in the yard outside of the jail, close to the greenhouse. Even though it was hard to restart the case, they would not give up until they found the truth. As soon as Michelle's family heard about her death, they thought there was foul play and thought Martin had killed her. During her life, Michelle herself could tell that something was not right.